Representative Owen, you want to come on up? Let's see, Ms. Lowry, would you please go ahead and read in House Bill 110?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Members, Representative Owen is bringing House Bill 110 to allow certain persons who are not public servants or an agency to know who filed an ethics complaint after the board has taken action on the complaint.
Representative Owen, on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, thank you for your patience in getting me on the docket today. I know it's been a busy day. I've been reading a book lately about the weaponization of government. And there is a line, in fact, I just read yesterday, that says the punishment is the process. And something that wears me out, that just concerns me about our government and the way we operate at the state and federal level, but I'm dealing with the state, is that if a citizen gets a letter that says you are the subject of an investigation, they immediately have to go into a defensive stance. They may or may not have to hire lawyers. They may have to do all sorts of things to protect themselves. And occasionally I am told in this state that people are accused of ethics violations who are private citizens who are doing things like lobbying around, maybe not lobbying, but just in this building advocating, not lobbyists, but advocating for things. And then an ethics complaint gets dropped on them. And they have to spend weeks, sometimes months, sometimes thousands of dollars of their own money. And when they're done, they might get a letter that says this is over. Who did that to me? And where do I get my money back for something I didn't do? And I'm not asking for anything other than for the individual to be able to know who filed an ethics complaint against them, because I think for it to be held in secret empowers government to silence people. And I don't like that idea. That uses the arm of government to silence the public. And so I'm just asking, when an investigation is over, the citizen asks to be able to get from ethics who filed the complaint on them. I'm not asking for me or an agency. I'm talking about private citizens. So that's my bill.
All right. Thank you, Representative Owen. Representative Newell for a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Rep Owen, thank you. Good afternoon.
Yes,
so the bill would just be for any complaint, or is it a complaint that has been found to be, like we say, a frivolous complaint, or one that just puts a false narrative on you? Are those the kind of complaints where you can get the name of the complainant, or is it any complaint?
When the investigation is over, when everything is passed, that's when, regardless of what the complaint is, I think a citizen ought to have the right to know about who sicked the government on them.
And what regular citizen is going to get an ethics complaint on them if it's just a regular citizen? We're not talking about, because you said a regular citizen, so I'm not thinking a board member. I'm not thinking about somebody appointed to any agency. I'm not thinking about us. Because you're saying a regular person. So what regular person is going to have a ethics complaint on them?
There are numbers of people who walk in this door all the time who are not lobbyists, who are just advocates for positions. They may be, for example, there are people that come every time we bring vaccines up and lecture me and tell me that we need more vaccines and that tell me I'm wrong. And they're not lobbyists. They're here advocating on their own. I'm talking about people like that who are simply here as citizens to open their mouths, or anywhere.
But who is the complaint on? The
citizen who comes to the table.
And the citizen that comes to the table is putting a complaint on you, or somebody in the audience is putting a complaint on the person that's at the table? I'm so confused.
Somebody somewhere is putting a complaint on the citizen who's at this table.
To who? Who they reporting this to?
The Board of Ethics.
Y'all take, Miss Allen, if you put out a white card, I'm so glad you stayed.
She's getting her squats in too, up, down,
yes.
up, down.
Getting steps and squats today.
Ms. Allen, please introduce yourself for the record.
Sure. Kathleen Allen, Ethics Administrator for the Board of Ethics.
So, Ms. Allen, how many complaints are filed on regular, everyday citizens?
Okay, the Board of Ethics has jurisdiction over the Code of Governmental Ethics, and then it sounded like what Representative Owen was referring to was the Lobbying Disclosure Act. So do we get complaints that someone should be registered and is not registered with our office? We get a few of those. Those aren't many, I guess, in the scheme of things. As far as the Code of Governmental Ethics, persons who are not public servants could be an immediate family member who entered into a transaction with one's agency. It could be an immediate family member who was hired in violation of the nepotism provision. It could be their companies that entered into contracts with a public servants agency when it's so those would be private citizens, not public servants. Also, it could be the individual, say a public servant received a gift or some income that they weren't entitled to receive. The person who actually gave it would be subject to the Code of Governmental Ethics restrictions as giving a prohibited gift.
Okay, so I understand the portion about our family members because they're attached to the elected. But Rep Owens mentioned that he's not speaking about the lobbyists, but those who come in as advocates who sit at the table. But they're not required to be registered as lobbyists, so they would essentially be a regular person.
If they're not required to be registered as a lobbyist, they wouldn't be under our jurisdiction. If someone comes to sit at a table and they're expressing their own opinion, they're not representing someone else in another capacity, I wouldn't think they would fall under the jurisdiction of the Lobbying Disclosure Act in that instance. And so I'm not seeing...
Because I was really trying to figure out what we were doing here because I'm sorry, Ref Owens, this bill gives me a little bit of a pause because it seems as though we're going to be attacking the whistleblower who might see something that is wrong, and we'll have people who are who do see wrongs or who are asking questions about public entities or public servants. And then they'll start being a little hesitant about asking questions, about making inquiries as to what it is that we can do if they're now going to be, threatened with having their personal information sent over to the person that they made the complaint against. That's why I was asking you what kind of complaint. Because I would have been with you if you'd have said it was a false complaint, or if they made up some kind of lie about you and then the report came back that this person was sort of defaming you, and you wanted that information to confront them, even though I wouldn't smile upon that either. But I would have understood that. But if a person is just making a basic complaint, I don't see why we need, because we got enough to do. Instead of looking at who done put in the complaint, because that would have taken me a week for the complaints I had.
I appreciate your point, and I agree. Whistleblowers need to be protected. Actual whistleblowers against the government need to be protected at every turn.
But this isn't protecting them.
This is not a whistle, but this turns out to be an investigation that was unfounded, where someone is exonerated, and they've spent weeks or months or thousands of dollars of their own money to defend themselves.
But none of that's in this bill, because that's what I just said.
No, all it says is they get to know who filed the complaint against them. That's all.
But you didn't say file the unfounded complaint or...
In any complaint, when it's over.
But I think what she's saying, just to jump in, Representative Newell, is even if that person is found guilty of the ethics complaint, you still are acknowledging or going to find out who filed that bill originally. Is that your point? So it's not just when you're exonerated and innocent. It's even if it's a legitimate complaint and there's an ethics violation to be found, you're gonna find out who that whistleblower is in her example. Is that, am I articulating that correctly?
Yes.
Does that make sense? So it's guilty or not guilty of the violation.
I would rather it be fully disclosed regardless, but I would like to continue the discussion on it because this is turning the government loose on people, and that's my point on it. And I won't mind amending it if we say, if someone's exonerated on the backside, or there was nothing discovered in the investigation, but someone has still had to write checks. Some private citizen has still had to write checks defending themselves.
Wait. Okay.
All right, let's go into the next question while you think about that.
All right.
Representative Domingue.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for bringing this bill. However, what I'm hearing from the testimony and what I'm seeing in the bill, they don't match. And so earlier you said it's just for private citizens, it's not for everyone. It doesn't say that in the bill. And so the way the bill is presented to us, it seems as though if there is a complaint filed against any of us, then we could find out who that person is complaining on the thing. And I do think that confidentiality is very important, especially if people, in rural areas, maybe they want to file a complaint against their sheriff and don't want to have any retribution from that person.
Ma'am, Representative Domingue, this says other than a public servant or agency. This is for private citizens only.
Can you tell me where that says that?
After the conclusion of an investigation or other board action of a complaint, and upon written request by the person who is the subject of the investigation or complaint other than a public servant or agency, the Board of Ethics shall furnish. Line 12 through 16.
Okay. All right, I kind of agree with Rep Newell, and I'm not quite sure how often this happens. However, I'll defer and listen to the other questions.
Vice Chairman Lyons for a question.
I kind of don't know what to ask Chuck, Representative Owen. You're asking us to say that any person that comes in here, anywhere, that makes a complaint, regardless of whether the complaint is frivolous or it could be an intentional or meaningful complaint that warrants an investigation. And the investigation finds out that maybe something was there, but maybe not at the level what you or the person may have thought it would be. So you want everybody's name to go up in lights to say, well, hey, he made a complaint, she made a complaint, they had a concern, so now they can know. So in your estimate, you're saying they're sticking the government on them, but yet you in turn are putting a spotlight on them yourself, saying that this person done something that they may not have been wrong. I mean, there's many things that can happen that a person, and one of the biggest areas in life is an assumption. When people assume that there's something that's not there or may not be, that warrants an investigation. And it's within the rights of those authorities to investigate when something seems to be improper or out of order. So you're basically turning to what you just described as a whistleblower protection, that if a person has a question about something, that everyone knows that they have a question about something. And I don't think it falls under the jurisdiction, as Ms. Allen just says. Regular citizens don't fall upon their jurisdiction ethically.
But they go after them. They investigate them. And I appreciate your question, and I'm trying to clarify this. Where does that citizen go after they spent weeks or months of their time getting you may not write them threatening, but you get a chilling letter that says you are subject of investigation of the state of Louisiana. I don't like that. And then you get a lawyer, and you've got to respond back and forth for weeks and months. And when it's over and your name is cleared, all you can go is...
But she just said that your statement, she just clarified that for regular citizens, it does not cover them in this regards as far as her jurisdiction and the things that she's addressing to us. From my understanding, you're saying is you're talking about everyone, anyone and everyone. And she's basically, am I right, Ms. Allen?
Well, I don't know if that's an overstatement. The example that Representative Owen used was a citizen coming to the table, expressing their opinion about something, and us investigating them in that situation. I think that is rare. What I think this does is it allows, like I said, let me use a nepotism example. So a complaint is filed with our office, and it involves a public servant and their immediate family. This would say that the immediate family member can ask who the complainant was.
Okay.
Not the public servant, but the immediate family member could ask who the complainant is.
Okay, we'll go back to the second sentence that you said. In regards to his expression of what he says, has that ever happened in your history of where you are? Has it ever happened as he described it?
Where someone comes to the table here at the legislature?
With their opinion.
There may have been a situation where they thought they were representing the interest of someone else. And in that case, would there be an investigation to see if they were expressing their own opinion or if they were being paid by someone else to represent the opinion of that someone else, to see if they would be required to register as a lobbyist. That may happen once or twice, maybe.
But never really, it's not customary that actually happens. For lack of a better word, customary, but it just haven't ever happened like that.
Well, not that it's never happened, but it's not as frequent as, say, ethics code issues that comes to the board's attention.
All right, thank you.
Again, I'm not worried about us. I'm not about me or my family. This is about private citizens who spend their time and come up here and try to talk to us about things that matter. And it does happen. There's someone here that's going to testify to it today that it's happened. There's someone else that couldn't come today that it's happened to. He was tangled up in a family event. And so I am just trying to protect the public, because what this does, this chills the public. When someone comes up here and they're challenging, let's say they come to challenge Governor Landry's position on something, and next thing they know, they're getting an ethics complaint on top of them. Well, they don't know where the ethics complaint.
I just don't see where I can see a accusation. I can see a position of clarification or verify what they say, but I just don't see an ethical complaint because a person comes and express that. I don't see that ever happening. That's all I'm saying. I'm trying to visualize where you are, sir. I'm just trying to get there.
I appreciate that.
I'm trying to see it.
Forgive my animated.
That's okay. We can be animated, Chuck. That's fine. I'm just trying to see it. I'm trying to get there with you. The sky is still blue right now. It didn't have purple or green yet, but I'm still working on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Representative Wright?
I'm going to look at the screen, not look through the wall.
Oh, all right. Representative Boyd?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, God, it's so hard so, Ms. Allen, you said that this would apply to the immediate family of the public servant. Is that what you said?
This would allow
For the
an immediate family member
okay.
to ask to who the complainant, yes.
Okay.
I'll be glad to write that out.
Representative, you just said it doesn't apply to me and my immediate family, so it's in direct contrast to what she said.
I will be glad to amend that out.
Okay. You also said at some point that they were fined, Ms. Allen. Do you know of the general public being fined for? I'm just saying what you said.
No, I didn't say they were fined. I said they had to pay for lawyers to defend themselves.
At one point, you did say fine.
Did I say? I don't recall that, but I didn't mean to. I don't know. Anyway, no.
Okay. And when you hire a lawyer, that's spending money.
It is, yeah.
But so, Ms. Allen, for the general public, just John Doe coming in to testify against a bill or for a bill, and somebody wanted to report them, you would receive that from just John Doe coming in?
We would receive a complaint, and then the question would be, the issue under the board's jurisdiction would be, was that person required to register as a lobbyist?
I'm not saying a lobbyist. I'm not saying the immediate family of anyone, just someone coming in.
But again, that's what could be the nature of a complaint, is that this person came in and they're not registered as a lobbyist on your website, and they represent this person.
I'm not talking about that
I know, but-
person. I'm talking about the general public, as the representative is saying. I'm not
If-
talking about the person who should be registered, who works or is affiliated with a lobbying firm. I'm not even talking, so we're going to take the immediate family out of the loop as well. I'm just talking about John Doe from whatever.
Right.
Not affiliated with any of that. Is there a space for someone to file a complaint against that person with you?
Just like someone can file a civil lawsuit, someone can file a complaint with our office.
But there's nothing that you could do about that John Doe person who's not affiliated with a lobbying firm?
If the investigation plays out that that person wasn't representing, they were just representing, and that's what the facts we elicited during the investigation, there wouldn't be a requirement to register.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last question, I think, Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. In your bill, you use the phrase, "who filed a non-sworn complaint." Is there such a thing as a sworn complaint?
I am told by House staff that there is.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Okay. So which is typical? A sworn or a non-sworn complaint?
More common are non-sworn complaints.
So somebody might call your office. It's not even in writing.
No, ma'am, we do not take action based on phone calls. It would have to be something submitted in writing to our office.
Okay, and so the person who submits a non-sworn complaint in writing to your office has to sign his or her name and give identifying information? Is that correct?
Board gets a lot of different type of complaints in a lot of different formats. Do we receive anonymous complaints? Yes, but the board would have to take it up on its own motion. So those, and give weight to, the document as an anonymous complaint. Non-sworn complaints, someone has signed the letter. Sworn complaints, someone has submitted, where it's in an affidavit form or a notary, before a notary, we've accepted those as sworn complaints.
Okay, well, that's logical. That makes sense. So the board does take up some anonymous complaints.
The way it's presented to the board is presented as an anonymous complaint, because we receive their mail. So, they only come to us once a month. We give them that information, but they would have to, on their own, say, I want to look at this particular matter. But again, it's usually based on the weight of it. If it's, I saw this and I think it's a problem, probably not much weight to that, because there's no one we can go to.
So the
to support
default
that.
is we don't deal with it.
Unless the board on its own wants to take
right,
the matter. Yes,
unless
ma'am.
there's something onerous there. I'd like to hear the testimony.
Exactly where we're going next. The board is clear, and we have some green cards here that I wanted to call up for those who actually want to speak. We only have. Is Chris Alexander there?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
He's president. We want to speak. Come on up, sir, and give us a brief interest of what your
Sure. I won't be,
support is.
I won't
Thank
be
you.
long. Sure. Chris Alexander, Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group. We're here in support of this legislation, and I would just echo Representative Owen's sentiments regarding private citizens who could be the subject of ethics complaints. And I believe that Ms. Allen did indicate that there are occasions and circumstances where private citizens who are not subject to the Lobbying Disclosure Act could have complaints filed against them, private citizens. And this is the United States of America. We have an ethics complaint is a quasi criminal proceeding when someone files an ethics complaint against somebody. And I think in the United States, a citizen has a right to know at some point the identity of the person who's accusing them of an ethical violation. I mean, this is not something out of a Franz Kafka novel. This is not a totalitarian country we live in. This is a free country. And at some point, an accused should know the identity and have a right to know the identity of the person who's filing an ethics complaint against them. I certainly understand, the whistleblowing acts and the fear of retaliation if ethics complaints are filed against public officials. I get that and I respect that. But when it comes to private citizens, there is absolutely nothing improper and really everything appropriate about establishing that private citizens have a right at some point at the conclusion of investigation to know the identity of the person accusing them. And we believe very, very strongly that that should be the case, and we strongly support the legislation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Alexander. Also a green card in favor, wishing to speak, Jill Hines. Okay. Is there Jill here? Yeah. Okay. Oh, Representative Domingue. I'm sorry, Representative Domingue. Was that for Mr. Alexander, or is that just in general?
It was for Mr. Alexander.
Mr. Alexander, Ms. Hines, would you please, or Mr. Alexander, why don't you just come sit in this other chair? Let Ms. Domingue ask this question real quick. Representative Domingue, I'm trying to, can you tell him? There we go. Representative Domingue.
Thank you. And I will keep this very, very, very short. Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you don't like me very much. So
I don't have any issue with you at all.
There were text messages sent out in my campaign that there were absolutely no financial records for. There was no financial. That nobody filed any campaign finance. And I know that your organization went after me pretty hard. So if your organization can't do it and you're not a lobbyist, then I'm not going to support this bill. But I appreciate it.
My organization did not send one thing out about you. I'd like to show it. Can you prove that? Well,
She's asking the questions, Mr. Alexander. Right.
Okay. So I'm just telling you, but I understand what you're saying, Mr. Chairman, but that is absolutely false, the statement that was just made.
That's fine.
And I have to defend the integrity of my organization.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Got you on record. All right. Ms. Hines?
Hello.
Ms. Alexander.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ms. Hines?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jill Hines. I'm co-director of Health Freedom Louisiana. We're a consumer and human rights advocacy organization, and it's me. I'll just confess, it's me. In 2022, Health Freedom Louisiana purchased billboard advertising in Baton Rouge regarding a bill that was going through the legislature at the time. Immediately, we received harassing comments on our social media channels and threats of complaints to the Secretary of State and the billboard advertising company. A few months later, I received a letter stating that a complaint had been filed with the Ethics Board against me personally and HFL. So yes, we spent thousands of dollars defending me and HFL. I spent countless hours preparing information, answering questions, and worrying. After 11 months of answering subpoenas, sometimes 2 or 3 a day, I received a call from my attorney that the allegations against me had been cleared and the case had been closed. While I know the names of the people who harassed us on social media, I have no idea who filed the claim against me. I feel strongly that the Ethics Board was weaponized against me because of something my company put on a billboard that angered some people. It was a baseless accusation. They did accuse me of being a lobbyist. By the way, I do not get paid for my time down here at the Capitol. And we took an affidavit at the very first meeting from our CPA stating that fact, that I've never received payment for my time, my hours on the road, and just the amount of time that I spent doing what I do. So it was a baseless accusation, yet it took thousands of dollars to clear my name and endless hours away from my life and from my work. So my first question to the investigator when I spoke to him on the phone was, I say things that people don't like all the time. What if they keep doing this? So the ethics board, I agree with you, has a purpose. I've used it. I've called with the anticipation that my name would be known. But when the name is not known, it can be weaponized against the individual, which I think it was against me. So revealing the name of the individuals who file complaints is a deterrent to frivolous claims.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Appreciate your testimony.
Sure, thank you.
And it gave us a good example of exactly what Representative Owen is trying to do. All right, we have a couple other green cards present now wishing to speak. Ms. Mary Susie Labrie and Bert Colley. In opposition to the bill, turning in red cards. Jordan Gonzalez can provide information if needed. Not wishing to speak in opposition, Bruce Riley and Chico Yancey, both with a vote. All right, the board is clear. Representative Owens, you want to close on your bill?
I do. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. What I would tell everybody listening to me, either here or somewhere else, if you're not afraid of the government, you ought to be. Because the government has bottomless pits of money that they can throw against you to silence you. And you just heard an example. There's another one someone in Lafayette. The guy couldn't come. And I don't want to chill ethics complaints, but at the same time, private citizens who spend their time and money coming down here. Ms. Hines comes from Lincoln Parish. That's like a 3-hour drive. She doesn't take a dime for it. And there's people like that come from all over the state. And then when people in power, maybe there were people in power, or maybe there are people who just don't like what's said. They sick the government on you. They're trying to silence you. And I just want people to be able to know who sicked the government on them. And I would ask your favorable passage for this.
All right. What's the pleasure of the committee? All right. Look, Ms. Hines, I wasn't sure if I was going to be in favor of your bill here. Ms. Hines gave me the specific reason why. Ms. Hines, where are you? I can't see you behind the. You switched me on this bill, Ms. Hines. I just want to let you know your testimony. So I'm going to make a motion that we report House Bill 110 favorably. We have an objection from Representative Boyd or Representative Bright. You have your button pushed, and we're on the vote. Okay, all right. Ms. Baker, go ahead and call the roll, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Boyer?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Bayham? Representative Billings?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Boyd? No. Representative Carter? Representative Domain?
No.
No. Representative Farnham? Representative Gadberry? Yes. Representative Larverdane? No. Vice Chair Lyons?
No.
No. Representative Marcel? Representative Newell?
No.
No. Representative Shammerhorn?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Thomas?
No.
No. Representative Wright?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Weibel?
Yes.
Yes. There are 6 yeas and 6 nays.
All right, members, House Bill 110 fails to move favorably. Thank you for your
Thank you, members.
testimony.